Welcome to this edition of Inside America's Boardrooms. I'm TK Kerstetter and I'll be your host for the show. And I'm also the co-founder and editor-at-large of Corporate Board Member. We are here at the Diligent Director Experience and we happen to be sitting in a beautiful winery overlooking the vineyards. It's really pretty tough duty, but we are going to have a show that concentrates on something that's helpful. And today we're going to be talking about should board tap external cyber experts to meet oversight expectations. And joining me is somebody that should know a little bit about this and certainly can help us have a good conversation. So welcome my guest, Martin Davis, who's a director with South State Corporation and is also the EVP and CIO at the Southern Company. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you, TK. Good to be on board.
So you're sitting in that seat because you have had a career as a CTO, CIO, yes. Fortune 250 companies, so big companies.
Right.
And you've also had a large managerial and P&L responsibility. Right. So you almost seem like the perfect, quote, cyber board candidate, okay? Because you have all the skill set. Right. Yet sometimes I think there's a misnomer that boards think, okay, I've got my cyber guy on board, they're going to have all the answers, they're going to know all the questions, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. So talk about what the realistic expectation should be when an individual like you joins the board and people are thinking, okay, I've got all this answered now.
Right. Well, first of all, I think cyber is a responsibility of the entire board, not just a single individual. And I think boards should be attracting leaders with multiple skill sets and multiple experiences, not going after a title. So don't go hire a cyber guy to come on your board, right? Hire a leader, hire a technology professional, hire someone with great experiences. So for me, I have merger acquisition and divestiture experience. I have cyber experience. I have great leadership experience. I've got operational experience. So you need an individual that can fill multiple gaps.
But Martin, nobody is even as experienced as you are, is really going to be able to individually get their arms around cyber, okay? I mean, you are going to know some good questions to ask, right. But the expectation that you're going to solve the cyber problems for a company is just not realistic.
I would agree, and that's not the role of the board. The role of the board is to ensure that the cyber posture and risk profile of the company is acceptable by the board. And so you're really just asking questions of the management team as to whether or not they have the appropriate risk profile and then they have the appropriate protections as it relates to cyber.
There's always a debate of whether the board should go and hire outside resources, outside experts.
Right.
If there's ever a topic, I think though, that it might make some sense, it's probably in the cyber world. So what would be your recommendations to a board as far as having that opportunity of going outside?
I definitely think if a board feels in some way that they may not have their own expertise available around the table, that they should go hire an expert to come in and do either a penetration test or review of the cyber capabilities of the company. And that way they can get a comfort level as it relates to the cyber capability of the firm, and at the same time ensure that they've done their appropriate due diligence and fiduciary duty of the board.
Have you ever found it a challenge? I mean, one of the things that's difficult is to first have the confidence in that CIO or CTO, right. When they're coming in a room. There needs to be some level of confidence in that person that's delivering all the information, particularly in the cyber space where right. Most people don't know. How do you, on the other side, when you go into the board, how do you get that confidence, and would you understand if the board wanted to bring in an outside consultant to confirm that, that this guy knows what he's talking about?
The first thing I do on my board is I sat down with our CISO and I sat down with the CIO. I want to make sure they know their stuff. So I'm asking them questions that I have for 35 years experience to see what kind of answers they're bringing back. If I don't have confidence in them after that, then I'm sharing with the rest of the board. We may need to do some external work.
Knowing what you know about what exists out there with state-sponsored right. stuff, with groups of hackers that sort of do it for enjoyment to see if they can crack somebody's system, all that. Sort of what worries you the most when you think about the risks in the future? And
I think the main risk is that companies will not respond appropriately once they have a situation. We put together plans, but do we execute the plans when something happens? A lot of times you're trying to analyze what really happened, and you're not sure you've been hacked at that point. And so we need to pull out the playbooks that we did when we were not in a critical situation and execute those playbooks. The second thing I think we need to do is to ensure that we're educating our employees and the board around social engineering. Because we can put all the technology in the world in place, TK, but if someone gets socially engineered by giving up credentials or other information, you've bypassed all the technology.
But every year that goes by, there's more devices, okay? And there's more avenues. We saw Target come through an air conditioning vendor. We, see Equifax doesn't do a patch in time.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, I would suspect that it's a full-time job in the sense of just repetitive reminding people the social engineering part.
Is a critical component. And it's point counterpoint. At the end of the day, you have to make sure you've segmented your network so if one device gets hit, it can't penetrate through the entire network. And so you have to segment networks and put other things in place to ensure that you have mitigating controls if you're ever hacked.
Well, Martin, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your normally busy schedule, although, again, we're here sort of in mini
tough
paradise.
Duty up here.
Yes, it is tough duty. But I want to thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And that will conclude this edition of Inside America's Boardrooms. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next week when we take another look at a critical topic that'll help you be a better board member or committee member. So we'll see you then.